All right, the fourth thing I'm thinking tonight, I feel quite passionate about. Actually extremely passionate about. And for those of you who are West Wing fans, this is just me being nerdy. This is a nerd test. Actually, I heard that quote today. This is a nerd test. West Wing fans, President Bartlett always saying, "What's next? What's next? Bring it. What do you got?" And for a lot of folks in fitness, it tends to be 30-day, 60-day, 90-day solution, 90-day transformation, 60-day. And I understand. I do. I understand. We do it, right? But in the same token, I think there's 4 steps in fitness. And I think this cycle needs to be reminded to folks, because the patience that doesn't exist in the world today, with so many people having access to so much information, is often needed and needed to be reminded to those folks about this process. Let me go through that process real quick. I think the first phase in fitness is both the investigative, interrogative, and just thinking about it, right? So this can include those people that are watching Biggest Loser. They're not participating, right? But just watching, let's just say, okay? So the first step in fitness, just thinking about it. That's it. Thinking about it, being aware. Maybe you're doing research about gyms in your area. Maybe you're reading up on, maybe you had an injury. Post physical therapy, you're like, I don't want this to happen to me again. I don't want to feel this way. I want to be able to live my life the way that I want to do, travel, not feel limited. And so you begin this process of, I'm going to think more about how I can be active in my own life. That's step 1. Okay? That's step 1. Number 2, that's the planning stage. Okay? And we can't skip this stage either. You can't go from necessarily thinking about it to just doing it. Otherwise, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail, right? So we can't skip this stage. And this is the planning part. This is where I go over with people sometimes, what do you feel that you can give in order to get the results that you want to get? So think about it. When you are planning, this is when you're looking at your schedule. What days am I least busy? What days do I have the most energy? What days do I have the least spousal, familial, and or work commitments? Those are the days that you need to plan to work out. And those are the days that you potentially need to do your meal plan. Simple. But you need to do that planning. You need to think about it first, and going with I'm going to go 5 times a week. Nope. Not happening. Especially for most people, especially for New York. Just not going to happen. Unless you're single and 22 and a baby banker on the Upper East Side, still not going to happen. Sorry. The third part, executing, right? There's that plan coming to fruition. You're going to the gym, you're doing your meal plan, you're making meals ahead of time, you're doing meal prep, you're making good decisions at the deli, you're making good decisions at a restaurant, you're executing that plan. So, and this could, by the way, include a step between planning and executing about hiring a coach, right? That's, I think, where the structure name comes in, is that a lot of times people find that they don't do well in an unstructured situation outside of their normal structured situation, their 9 to 5 or their 8 to 6 or their work day. And so I think the actual execution phase, this could be the longest, right? Somebody could be thinking about it for 3 days. Somebody could be planning about it for another 2 or 1 or even less than 1. Somebody could be executing this for a long time. Now here's the kicker. The accomplishing part is last. But it's not necessarily last, because what it should do, and what the fitness industry potentially could do a better job of, is it could be and should be a reminder of, let's start thinking what's next. Because a number on the scale, while it could be an accomplishment or a body fat number, right? Those are all great things. However, when you look at the whole grand scheme of life, this whole lifting for life, this whole sustenance, being able to do something repetitively over time and enjoying it, right? Those are the things that us at Structure, the coaches at Structure, my business partners and I are obsessed with. Because this phase isn't just a closed loop, by the way. It's not. It can't be. Because if you get to a single digit body fat, that's great. But if you have single digit body fat that can't be maintained, then you might have failed along that trail. And that's why these 4 steps in fitness are almost not necessarily steps, but in reality, that might just be a closed square, a closed loop, where you start by, once you accomplish said goal, and it could be chin-ups, if you're a female or a male, it could be a body weight, 1.5 times your body weight or 2 times your body weight deadlift. It could be to run a half marathon or a marathon. I actually found once I finished my marathon, I was like, now, what do I do? I had trained for 8 months for that marathon. I knew what I was doing 3 days a week and the other 2 to 3 days a week with weight training. I knew. And all of a sudden, I didn't have 3 days a week to run. I was confused. What do I do? So I think understanding that this is where the value of a coach comes in, right? Because I don't necessarily know what's next. Maybe it's running in New York, they have the thing called the Fifth Avenue Mile, right? Maybe it's that. Maybe it's in your neighborhood, it's running a half marathon or running a 10K or a 4 mile. Or maybe it's learning to row more efficiently so that you can be a better rower and row pain-free. Simple, right? But it's still a process-oriented goal. And so this is where I go back to the 4 steps in fitness. I think it's actually not 4 steps. It's longer than that. And it's an eternal journey. And I think enjoying that journey, enjoying that process, and our support of that enjoyment of the journey is a priority. And reminding myself that this model, this thinking, planning, executing, and accomplishing is super, super important. I can't emphasize it enough. I can't. And there might be some other minutia in between there, but I think those are the big rocks. And engaging the people to go from the thinking to the planning to the executing, that's huge. If the vast majority of Americans are under-exercising, overweight, highly overweight, by the way, and obese, we have an issue of not understanding the problem. If we did, then I think we'd understand how to implement a solution. And so what I think we need to be obsessed with more is about both the thinking, the planning, the executing, and the accomplishment. Because so many times we get lost in everywhere else and we forget about the execution of the plan. Sometimes we forget about the plan. And sometimes as coaches, we forget to remind them what's next for you.